So today I want to share with you really the keys to living at a lower stress level or at a higher level of calm, which is the way I like to think of it. Because when we're trying to develop something, I think it's a lot easier to develop something based on gaining more of something rather than losing or decreasing something. I think the human nature is that we tend to be afraid to let go of things, as opposed to we tend to actually think it's a good thing to gain new things. So let's frame this in terms of we're going to increase our sense of calm, not decrease our anxiety or stress. The cool thing about that is that calm and anxiety are kind of two aspects of the same spectrum, right? So we typically think, okay, if we're really anxious, then we're not calm. And if we're really calm, then we're not anxious. So there's this, kind of spectrum there. And by just simply focusing on increasing the amount of calm that we have, right? What happens is, without any extra effort, without any thought at all, we automatically decrease the level of anxiety. We don't even have to try. And so, one of the things that I want you to think about is that we all, you, me, every other human, every other living thing, really, in the world, in the universe, if you want to think of it that way, operates at a default state. There's a default state of how you show up every day and how you're operating every day. This is just the way nature works. Nature finds its rhythm, nature finds its flow, nature finds a way of getting itself into a state and tends to stay within that state for the most part. So think of the solar system, like what we know about the solar system that in which we live, in which our planet is, right? It has been the way that we see it in terms of sun and the order of the planets and the distance between the planets and the orbits of the different planets. It's been like that for, as far as we know, for sure, ever since we've been observing it. And, from a scientific perspective, we have calculated that it's been in that same, pattern for billions of years, right? Or many hundreds of millions of years. I'm not sure what the actual amount is, okay? But it's just a long time. And that's because that's what nature does. It finds a normal or it finds a rhythm, it finds a way to be systematic, and it just stays there. Same thing with the seasons. Do you ever remember, of course, if you live in Houston, where I live, then you know that winter, spring, summer, fall is not as obvious to us, but it doesn't change the fact that the seasons on Earth have always been in that order: winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter, spring, summer, right? So in that way, you and your mental state and your emotional state also tend to get into its own rhythm. For a lot of people, what that means is that they tend to have a similar theme within their mind, their thoughts, their emotions every day. And even if there's fluctuations in the mood, kind of like seasons, right? The basic theme, the basic state is still there. So the key to increasing our calm is to change that default state. Now, easier said than done, right? Actually, no. It's actually very easy to do. It simply takes about 10 minutes a day of doing a very simple practice. So let me ask you this question. Would you ever expect to gain muscle or lose weight by not doing anything different? No, of course, I think it would be silly to expect that, right? If we want to get in shape, for instance, there's only one way to do it, and that is daily exercise that challenges the muscles and challenges our cardiovascular system so that over time, those things literally change their default state, right? So when we do cardio, for instance, we are literally strengthening our heart muscle so that over time, the strength of the heart muscle becomes so improved that as it beats, it pushes more blood, and therefore the body can get what it needs, the oxygen it needs, with fewer heartbeats, meaning what? The pulse rate slows down. And what happens is the default state of the heart, which is, it's pumping blood, but the default state of the heart is the pulse rate that we just have kind of at our baseline, right? That's its default state. The default state changes, the pulse rate drops. It's the same exact thing with developing and changing our emotional and mental state. We simply have to do a very easy, this is not hard, this is not some kind of, strain or stress to do this. But it does require commitment in the sense of we have to want the result. You have to think about what is it that's going to come from you being more calm on a daily basis. Think of all the benefits that are going to flow from that. Think of all the things that you're sick and tired of that are going to go away when you have a more calm, more steady, more stable, more consistently relaxed and clear state of mind. I mean, I can think of just a few things for me that I'm more creative, I'm more productive, I'm more present for my family, I'm not in a bad mood really as much, or sometimes for weeks and weeks, I don't think any of us ever escape the occasional bad mood, of course. But being in a bad mood or anxious or upset every day, it's exhausting, right? And so another thing that comes from it is I have more energy and I sleep better. Now, how does this benefit my loved ones? My loved ones I get to enjoy my loved ones more, and they enjoy me more. We spend more quality time together. There's not as much discord or disagreement or whatever, right? So there's so many benefits of this, but you need to really think about what your benefits are. How is it going to change your life? And by the way, having a calmer, more consistently chill state of mind is actually really good for your body. It's really good for your health. It's amazing for your hormonal system because the hormones are controlled by our central nervous system. And the central nervous system having all this disruption and tension and instability when we are having difficulty staying calm, that disrupts and causes the hormonal system to not be balanced. It's a constant strain and stress on our biology as much as it is our emotions. Because why? Hormones control everything in your body. And if your central nervous system is struggling to keep itself in some form of equilibrium, the hormones are going to follow that. And so this actually is life-changing in terms of not just your present state of health, but your future state of health, your longevity, and the quality of your life as you progress through the different stages of life. So it's a very simple practice. 10 minutes a day. That's all it takes. And you know what? For some people, 10 minutes even seems like a long time for this, and that's fine. Then commit to 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day. That's all it takes. And what we're going to do is very simple. So I'll tell you a story really quick, and then I'll teach it to you. I used to study a system you could say it's kind of like a yoga, but it's more from the Chinese medicine side. It's called Qigong, and the term Qigong translates literally into a discipline of internal energy. And basically, it's all about developing skill at managing your internal energy. So of course, that's where a lot of what I'm teaching you comes from. But I remember I was at this Qigong class one time, and I was really studying a lot of meditation, all these different meditation systems and whatever, right? And up till that point, I thought that I had learned a lot, and I thought that I really had it together, and I was this really, good meditator, as it were. But the interesting thing is, this class was like a revolution for me. It was a turning point. Obviously, I remember it very clearly. So, we always remember those moments, right? That are just these super teachable moments that change our lives. So what happened was, we had done all of our, exercises and routines and, the stretching and the, bringing the energy down and feeling the energy in our different, energy centers and all that. And then at the end, he says, okay, now we meditate. Just sit and be quiet. And I was like, sit and be quiet. I've read not hundreds, but dozens of books on meditation. I've gone to meditation retreats. I've gone to all these different things, and nobody ever said just sit and be quiet. And it just hit me that that's so simple and it's so powerful. And I sat down and I had the most incredible, most peaceful, and what I felt at that time was the most effective and real meditation I'd ever had. Because why? I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just sitting and being quiet. So that is what I'm going to teach you how to do. Sounds easier. I mean, it's, for a lot of people, it's easier said than done, because the quiet has to come from within. It's not about, it is about being physically quiet. We are going to be quiet physically, like, we're not going to make any sound and make any noise, but the whole key is also bringing that same sense of quiet to the inside, which really just kind of cuts off the source of pretty much all anxiety, because anxiety comes from being disturbed on the inside by something, being afraid of something mostly, right? Or being upset about something, or being angry about something, or being disgusted by something. And that's what stirs up all the, that then really, unfortunately, it's not unfortunately, the bottom line is it just is what it is, but what that does is lead us to behave in ways that reflect that sense of disturbance on the inside, okay? So being quiet is the opposite of that. Being quiet, we no longer allow the noise and the constant chatter of our minds to dominate the moment. We let that settle down. We let it start to this is not an effort thing. We're not trying to control our thoughts. And that's what a lot of people tend to think of it the wrong way, which then makes it difficult for those people, because why? It's actually impossible to control our thoughts the way that we think of, like, we're going to stop thinking. That's not possible to intentionally stop thinking by force, by effort, to stop our thoughts, any more than it is possible to stop our heartbeat. One of my sayings is, the heart beats, the mind thinks. Thoughts are like the heartbeat of the mind. It's the nature of the mind to think. So what we learn how to do is take our focus away from the thoughts. It's not so much about stopping the thoughts as it is shifting our focus, which is very easy to do, actually. It's very easy for anybody. If I say to you, okay, first I want you to, in fact, you can do it right now while you're listening or watching this video. I want you to put your hand in front of your face. And now I want you to focus on your hand. Just focus on your hand. Look at all the different lines. Look at all the different shapes. Look at your fingers. Which finger is the longest? Are any of your fingers, a little bit curved, like my index fingers? Got that little curve to it. Are your fingers long? Are they short? Look at the palm of your hand and all the different lines, or maybe you got some wrinkles or whatever. Look at it. Focus on it. Now, what I want to... now you can stop, okay? So bring your hand down. What I want to illustrate to you is that prior to me telling you to focus on that, you were not focused on it, right? But when I told you to focus on it, you just focused on it, okay? So how hard was that? It wasn't hard at all. So it's very easy to shift our focus. And this exercise is not about stopping our thoughts. It's about focusing in a different way and shifting our focus away from our thoughts and towards something else, which is going to be our breath. Now, this is not one of those meditations. This is a beginner thing in the sense that it's an exercise that is a doorway. There are definitely more advanced or less, what's the word I'm looking for? Less rote or prescribed or methodical, I guess. Yes, less methodical ways of doing this. But for now, assuming that it's not something you do a lot, we're going to establish this practice using some very simple kind of rules and guidelines, okay? And here's how you do it. The moment has arrived to teach you how to do it, okay? Very simple. So I'm going to demonstrate it for you. Let me back up from the camera a little bit. And actually, I can even adjust the camera. Let me do that. And also, let me pick up this light that just fell over. Yeah. Okay. Let me adjust the camera real quick. I'll back it up so you can see me. Back it up all the way. Okay, just ignore all that stuff in the background. Let me adjust it so you can see me here. Okay, yep, you can see pretty much my whole torso. So you can sit in a chair like this, okay? Sit in a chair. It's very simple. Don't make this hard. I like to sit on a cushion. I like to sit on a meditation cushion. It's just habit, but it's not necessary, okay? What you're going to do is you're just going to let your shoulders relax, okay? And I want you to sit up. Let me show you how I'm sitting up. You sit in what I call a dignified posture. There's something about this idea. We all know how to sit in a way that's kind of dignified. Like if you were going to sit on a throne, or if you were sitting and somebody was giving you an award, you wouldn't be like this. you would be like this. So it's not like we're trying really hard. You just sit in that kind of dignified posture, okay? And then what we're going to do very simply is just take your hands, and again, no special, poses or like, holding like this or anything. Just relax and just drop your hands palms up into your lap and keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. In fact, you can feel, if you want to, feel like like you're holding a bowling ball or something in your hands, and that it's a little heavy. Well, actually, a bowling ball is pretty heavy. So it can be a bowling ball. It can just be like a simple, something slightly heavy. And just feel it kind of pulling down a little bit. So that helps you to relax your shoulders. You're going to tuck your chin in just slightly. What that does is just make sure that you don't end up like this, right? So you're going to tuck your chin in slightly. Because what we don't want to do is end up with our neck being sore after we do this, okay? Place your feet flat on the floor in front of you. Okay? Now, we're almost there. Remember, sit and be quiet. So part of this is you just want to be still. Just be still. Don't move around. And the key is this. You will, initially when you're starting this, you're going to want to move. I mean, most people, because we're just so used to be moving around all the time and just constantly being going, which doesn't really cultivate a sense of calm if we don't do something to balance it out. So don't don't worry if you end up moving. One of the things that people will do a lot is they'll start to slump, and then you catch yourself and get yourself back into that position. That's okay. Also, any type, some people scratch or whatever, right? That's fine too. As you're learning, you'll get better at being still. But the goal is to be physically still, completely still, okay? The second thing is you're going to do some very gentle diaphragmatic or belly breaths. Now, a lot of people have trouble with the belly breaths because they've never really been taught how to do it. But what everybody knows how to do is push their belly out. Right now, my belly's still a little big. I'm working on losing weight right now, but push your belly out, and then and then suck it in. Push it out, suck it in. That's extreme. I don't want you to be doing that while you're doing the meditation. It's just to teach you that you can control your diaphragm, because actually, when you push your belly out, what you're actually doing is pushing down your diaphragm. Believe it or not. And when you're sucking your belly in, you are pulling these muscles, but you're also relaxing your diaphragm so it goes up a little bit to make room for your organs. That's it, okay? So what I want you to do now is gently push out your belly while you inhale at the same time, okay? Now just relax and let the breath go out. Don't push too hard, just very gently. So you're going to inhale, and then exhales through your nose. Inhale again, exhale. Very gentle push your belly and inhale. Very gentle pull in your belly and exhale. Congratulations. You've done belly breathing. The reason it's easy is because that's how we used to breathe when we were babies. And even as toddlers. Later on, we learn or just instinctively begin to breathe in a more restricted way, mostly because we're stressed. Mostly because we forget. But guess what? I've just reminded you. So this is very easy. So now, your hands are down here. You're breathing with your belly very gently in and out. Now you're just going to close your eyes. And we're going to start with 25. Okay? We're going to start with 25. And we're just going to count. backwards from 25 down to 1. And we're going to count one number on the exhale. So it's like inhale, and as I exhale, I mentally say 25. And I inhale again, and I mentally say 24. I inhale again, and I mentally say 23. Now, while you're doing this, there's a couple of things that I want you to do. One is just be aware of your body. Be aware of your body. And yes, you're kind of multitasking a little bit. And just relax where you're tense. Everybody is tense. In fact, the most likely places you're tense. And I want you to just sit right now. Close your eyes. Just listen to my voice. But be in this posture, breathing and counting. But at the same time, I want you to kind of bring your awareness to your hands. That's the first place that most people are tense. And if you're sort of like clutching your hands or holding them in a tense way, just relax your hands. The second place is the feet, actually. People will grip with their feet, or their feet are very, contracted or pulling up or whatever. Like your toes pulling back or your toes kind of pushing down. Just relax your feet too. And then finally, the teeth and the mouth. We tend to clench our mouths, so just relax there too. Okay. If you lost count, that's okay, but when you're doing it, as you get better at it, just start counting and try. I think it's just really important to be in that state of focus, but at the same time, also checking in with your body. Because what's going to happen is you're going to tense up. After you relax, you kind of tense back up. Why? Because that's your habit. That's your default state that I'm talking about. Your default state is that tension, and you're going to go back to it. What we're trying to do is set up a new default state, which is more relaxed and less overwhelmed with thinking. Okay, so let's start at 25 here in a second. The other thing that I want to tell you, another rule, is that you're not going to focus on anything but keeping your breath nice and calm, sitting perfectly still, and counting. That's really all it is. And that's all you need to focus on. So what's going to happen is, invariably, when you first do this, your mind's going to drift. You're going to forget to count. And you're going to find yourself at some point thinking about something that is completely irrelevant to the moment that you're in. Something like, oh man, I need to do laundry today. Oh, wait a minute, did I send that reminder out to the team? I'm just so tired of this person constantly bothering me, or whatever it is, right? These thoughts are just going to start to leak into the practice, and what will happen is you will be distracted away from counting. That's normal, especially at the beginning. So don't even take a moment to beat yourself up or to be like, man, I forgot to count. No. What you're going to do, stay completely in your zone. As soon as you notice, oh, wait a minute, I'm not counting, you just very matter of fact, with no reaction, just go right back to the count. And I would also recommend that you immediately just scan your body really quick, because you're going to be tensing up somewhere, because the thoughts reflect that you have slipped back into that old default state, meaning that your body is going to reflect that. So the question is, when you leak out and you realize you've stopped counting, where do you come back in? What if you can't remember where you left off? Very simple. Wherever you want to come back in, just guess. There's actually two ways to do it. I would say the more hardcore way is to start over. That, in a way, is a motivation to stay focused, because if you stick to that, then every time that you leak out, you're going to start over, meaning what? You're going to be sitting there a lot longer, typically. And if you get down to like 10, and then you leak out, and you start back over at 25, think about that, right? So that's the more hardcore way. If you have time, do it. You need to set aside at least 20 to 30 minutes to do it that way. But if you want to do it just in the 5 or 10 minute version, then as soon as you notice that, oh man, I've started thinking, what you want to do is just drop back into the count and just guess more or less where you were if you can't remember. Doesn't matter. I mean, if you miss a couple of numbers or you go back a couple of numbers, it's fine. The main thing is just let it, whatever you were thinking about, imagine that it's a piece of paper and you're just, oh, you know what? Crumple, trash, back to the thought, back to the count. Okay? Simple as that. You're breathing nice and relaxed into your belly. Chin is tucked in, hands are down here, relaxed. 25. 24. 23. And you're counting that in your mind. You can count out loud if you want to, if it helps you, but I would say the better thing to do is count in your mind. Okay? Because we need to learn how to release these thoughts and stay focused on the moment without talking. Okay? Because we're not going to be out in public like 25, 24. But the thing is, what you can do with this exercise, which is a beautiful thing, is anytime, anywhere, doesn't matter where you are, guess what? You have your breath and you have your mind. So using these two things as a tool to calm yourself down means you can calm yourself down anywhere, in any situation. And what you can do is a mini version of the exercise, not where you all of a sudden, hey, hang on real quick, I'm upset, I'm going to go and sit down and do this. No, of course not. But you just center back and go, okay, how am I breathing? And immediately shift your breath and just count down from 5 or count down from 10. There's a couple of benefits of this that are sort of on the side benefits, other than the main benefit of you are developing mindfulness and you're developing a habit that is based on, when I feel upset, disturbed, it triggers me. Instead of triggering me to scream and yell, or triggering me to freak out and leave, or triggering me to be frustrated and, it triggers me to breathe deeper, and it triggers me to be quiet. Because why? I don't know. I can't talk and count my breaths at the same time. Okay? I can't talk and even count at the same time in my mind. So as soon as you open your mouth, you've messed up the exercise. So just whatever you're upset about, whether it's you just read an email that was a kind of a snarky email and you want to respond with some snarky comment, or you were just cut off in traffic and you feel that kind of that road rage starting to well up, or wanting to say some choice words, you try to catch yourself. And if you don't, it's okay. Again, this just takes skill. I would never expect anybody to just start now and be a master of it. Don't expect that of yourself either. You'll get better and better as you go. But again, the key is the daily practice. So I don't want you to forget that. The daily practice is what builds the strength. It gets you in shape, and it shifts your default state, just like I was saying, your heartbeat. It shifts your mental heartbeat to a slower rhythm, a calmer rhythm. So instead of, if you imagine this is anxiety or freaking out, and this is kind of your default state, right? If your default state is this close to the freak out, it takes very little for you to freak out. It takes very little escalation in your anger or your stress to freak you out. But if your default state is down here, the freak out level doesn't change, but your default state does. Now something triggers you, or and it does kind of elevate you a little bit, but you're nowhere near freak out. So this is the key. We're bringing our default state down here. And so when you're in a situation, initially your default state might drop a little bit after you've done this a few days, but you're still pretty close, to the freak out switch, right? So you're going to have those moments where you kind of, still freak out sometimes. But you're going to get better and better at catching yourself, right? You're going to get better and better at catching yourself. And so you might be in a situation where someone's expecting a reply. So you can't just be silent for 10 whole seconds. Well, you could be silent for 10 whole seconds. In fact, you could just not say anything at all. Ever. Like someone says something to you and it kind of upsets you, and you could just be like, and sometimes that's a very effective strategy, by the way. I'm not going to get too far into it, but I'm going to let you know. When someone is upset and talking to you and maybe yelling at you or whatever, responding with silence is very powerful because it forces the person to reflect. They're not getting a response from you. They're not getting the escalation that they're looking for. And you'd be surprised how that silence elicits in most people a moment of reflection, and they go, oh my God, I'm so sorry I said that. Because you're not escalating it. But anyway, we'll leave that for another day. That's a whole other topic. In fact, it's a whole other meditation. So something triggers you, just breathe. You can do a 3 count, you can do a 10 count, you can do a 5 count. But whatever it is, you're just gonna use that stressful moment to trigger you to lock into that calmer, quiet state. And that's the real power of this. That's the real power. So, really simple. Just practice every day. Set aside a time. What I recommend you do is take a habit you already have. Like everybody brushes their teeth at the same times every day. Everybody usually takes a shower or bathes at the same time every day, or eats breakfast around the same time every day. Whatever it is, take that daily habit and put this practice either right before or right after it. Because why? You're just going to stack that habit onto a habit that's already there. And again, 5 or 10 minutes. That's it. Take a moment, sit down. I think a really good time to do this, just as an aside, is right after you get dressed. Or right before you get dressed, if you want to do it naked, I guess, or, whatever. Because right after you get dressed, you're about to go, out for the day, right? So doing it before you go out and you're like, in the world, so to speak, just take a moment, sit on the edge of the bed, or if you have a little, sitting area in your bedroom or whatever, before you go out of your bedroom, sit. Be quiet and count. And that's it. Do it every day. 5 or 10 minutes a day. And if you count 25 and you don't start over every time, but you just count 25, and when you get distracted, just guess a number and just keep going, it's going to take about 10 minutes. Okay? Do it every day. I challenge you to do it every day, just for 3 consecutive days. That's how powerful this is. 3 consecutive days is enough for you to notice a pretty significant change in how you're responding to the inputs that you're getting, Obviously, the real goal is to do it every day. But 3 days in a row is enough to give you a taste and enough to give you further motivation to keep doing it. And in fact, what I will tell you is this. As you do this every day, you will start to look forward to it. Why? Because everybody at a soul level needs this kind of reconnection to this kind of state. We crave it. Every human being feels at home and comfortable in this state. So you will start to actually really look forward to it. That's it. That's it. So get started with your practice. Commit to 3 days in a row. Pick a time or pick a slot in your morning that will either fall right before or right after a significant habit that you already do. And again, I would recommend right after you get dressed, right before you sort of walk out for the day, whatever it is that you're doing that day. Take a moment, collect yourself, sit and be quiet. Let this settle down. Okay? That's all. We'll see you around.